Alright guys, welcome to the channel. Today's gonna be super special because I'm visiting a self-serve podcasting, live streaming and video editing studio. Everything is automated, super interesting. You book online, they give you a code. Just come in here, show up, use the code to get in. There's one button you hit to start recording. You have like multiple cameras covering your podcast, 2 microphones, and everything is automated. Once you're done, you hit the one button and it stops recording. You go home and you receive your footage via Google Drive. So this is a super interesting concept. So let's not take much time. Let's get right into it, guys. So let's talk about the brain behind the studio because the whole thing is actually automated.
Yeah, I think there's a few pieces in the studio that makes it automated, but the main thing that made it possible for us to create an automated studio was Epiphan Video. So Epiphan Video has a few products. I'll name a few right now, just the Pearl Nano, the Pearl Mini, and the Pearl 2. And we started with our first studio. We have 3 studios now, but we started with our first studio with a Pearl Mini. Which was great because the Pearl Mini, you can input 3 cameras in there. There's an output for preview, and then the client only needs to press, you can lock the screen to just the start button. So the client has a touch screen on the desk, press start, and then when they're done, they press stop. And that is it, right? So that's kind of the brain behind the studio at first. And then this brain, the Pearl Mini or the Pearl 2 that we're using now, actually has auto file transfer. So it can auto file transfer somewhere, wherever you want it. We're doing it to a PC, and then it goes to a Google Drive. And then we have like Zapier happening. We have a bunch of stuff happening to automate, to know who booked the studio and what footage they will get, right? And then it creates a folder, and then the client the next day or even before that, like it could be 12 hours, 6 hours, depends on what time they're shooting and what time we're transferring. Yeah. But basically they will get an email saying, this is your raw footage. It is ready for you to do whatever you want with it. And then obviously if they book for like editing and things like that, then we push it further. Within a day, I edit the videos, or my editor will edit the videos and send it to them. And we also have reels for them. So they leave the studio with a complete package, basically.
So with the Pearl Mini, what type of inputs do you have? Is it HDMI, SDI?
Yeah, so basically the Pearl Mini physical inputs will have 2 HDMI in and 1 SDI in. The Pearl Mini itself is like their mid product. And so obviously more you go up, more inputs you have, right? The Pearl 2 has much more inputs. Like it goes pretty far. But basically if we look at the Pearl Mini, like a basic product, yeah, you'll have 1 HDMI out and then 3 inputs.
So do you have to connect it to some sort of computer, like at the studio? Do you have any sort of computer apart from the Pearl Mini?
So to answer your first question, do you have to connect it to a computer? No, you do not have to connect it to a computer. You just connect it to the web through Ethernet cable. It doesn't do Wi-Fi. It's really Ethernet cable direct. And then from there, I can access that Pearl Mini or Pearl 2 or Pearl Nano anywhere in the world. So I can actually access the footage through my cloud and download it. Now, we are using a computer at the studio to do auto file transfer, but there's other options. People could plug in, like if I was there, obviously I'm not, but you could plug in a USB and have auto file to USB. So basically what will happen is each time I plug in a USB into that USB port in front of the Pearl Mini, let's say, it will auto transfer to USB. And they recently came out with a cloud storage themselves for Epiphan, which you could auto file transfer to cloud as a backup to just save your files. But we are using computer for our purpose, but you don't need to.
Okay. So the computer you still accessing remotely, right?
Yeah, what's great about, let's say, the Uber Flix Studio is that everything is remote.
Okay.
So the Pearl is remote, and everything is mostly powered over Ethernet, which is great also because I don't need to run power everywhere. So because we're using Zcams, which are power over Ethernet, and they can be accessed remote. obviously this is all done through the PC. So I remote into the PC, and then I can access the cameras, the soundboard, the pearls actually I can access anywhere in the world without a computer.
Yeah.
But the rest of the gear, obviously, it needs to be on the same network. So we're using that PC to either troubleshoot. I could click autofocus to refocus the cameras. I could do all this remotely if I needed to.
Okay. So the cameras are connected. So basically, I'm assuming you have some sort of Ethernet switch with PoE.
Yeah, exactly.
That will connect both three cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're sending HDMI out from each camera into the Pearl Mini. Is that correct?
Yeah. So like I was kind of talking about like the 3 Studio and the Pearl Mini is the first one we use. If we talk specifically about the Uber Flix Studio, the Uber Flix Studio is like a special one.
Yeah.
There's just more gear.
Okay.
So it goes a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
And in that studio, we're using a Pearl 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which has way more inputs. I think it has 2 1080 HDMI, 2 4K HDMI, 2 4K SDI inputs, 2 HDMI outputs. So it has a lot. Let's just say it has a lot.
Yeah.
So it's
I
a
think
bigger
I've
brain.
seen it on their website.
Yeah, and it's a bigger machine. You can also use the touchscreen. So let me circle back on what's in that studio.
All right, guys, over the last 3 years, I've been able to build a personal brand simply by creating content here on YouTube and going live. I have collaborated with big brands like Panasonic, Logitech, and honestly, I'm just an Afro-Canadian, introverted nobody. Yet I've made multiple 5-figure worth of deals, all from clients who found me through my content. Now I've put together a free masterclass to help you do the same. If you're ready to level up your content game, create engaging live streams, online presentations or webinars, and build a professional content studio that will help you get followers, leads, and clients for your business faster, this is for you. Whether you're an online coach, course creator, content creator, or an online entrepreneur, this free masterclass is packed with actionable tips that will help you get results faster. Go ahead and register for our next masterclass using the link down below. Now, let's get back to the video.
We got the cameras. They are plugged in because we wanted 4K H.265. Okay. We're really pushing the boundaries for this studio, and everything is controlled on the table through a device called a Skorhøj. The company is called Skorhøj, which is a Danish company, and so that device sends command to all the pearls at the same time to record through API commands.
Okay.
So we're like, nice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So basically, with the Nano, you have a loop out for each HDMI, like each input.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. So now you can, when you hit record, you can record on both.
They're doing the 4. So they're doing the 4 machines.
Yeah.
Which one machine has like the Pearl 2 has multiple channels. It has, I think, right now technically it has 4 cameras plus an auto switch plus the TV, because we record the TV also. Because you could potentially, there's an HDMI in the table, you could send a zoom to the TV, and if the sound goes to the TV and in the headphones, it means we're recording it as a source. So it gives more options to the client to kind of play with that.
So what if the client doesn't want 4K? You still record in 4K, you just don't want, you don't send to them?
We just don't send it. So in their, if they click 4K and they pay for it, it's an extra $25 for the booking. So we just send everything. But it's still recorded. And what's amazing about the Pearls and Epiphan video is that, I have an SSD of 500 gig in there in each machine. But if the SSD is at 0, it's going to start deleting the oldest file and creating a new file. So it is actually scary when you look at it for the first time. You're like, okay, my clients are coming in. I have 0 storage left. What's going to happen? But this machine just does it. And that's the beauty of it.
So what about audio? So you guys have 2 SM7DB microphones.
Exactly.
Are they connected directly to the Pearls, or
no?
You have an interface.
So you could, like the Pearl has multiple XLR inputs, but there's not a lot of control in the sense of compressors, limiters, and all that stuff. So what we do, we send the two mics into a soundboard that's also remotely accessible. So we're using a Behringer or the XR 16. That's what we're using. And so the reason we're using that is that we have multiple auxes for outputs, and we can control these aux. So what I'm doing is that I'm sending, to the Pearl, I'm sending one mic in one input, the other mic in the other input. So I have those mixed, not together, but they're separated in the Pearl.
Okay.
And so my client, so in the Pearl, you can actually remix everything. So I can put the two mics together in a layout, right? And then I can put one mic in one layout, one mic in the other layout to have the two mics separated and mix on the white shot. So it gives a bit more play if we need, as editors, to correct something.
I saw your camera, so you're using the Z cam. Do you do any sort of, I think they have power zooms on the lenses. Do you do any sort of zooming in and out during the recording, or is it just a static shot?
Everything is static and fixed. And the reason is because it's an automated studio, nothing moves, nothing changes, right? And so we are testing a few cameras like in the back end for future studios to have some face tracking, but minimal face tracking, meaning like if you look at the PTZ optic cameras, you can say like, this is my zone, only move up and down, so only adjust for headroom if needed.
The only question I had for you was for the so the Ethernet cables that I saw on the Z cams, most are for just powering the cameras. You're not using any NDI.
No, we're not using NDI.
Okay.
We potentially we could, but we are not at this point.
Okay.
This could be a future setup for sure, like NDI, as the cameras that we have in the studio do provide NDI. But we're just using power right now and using HDMI. Depending on which Pearl, some Pearls do support NDI, some don't. So we just have to like figure this out in the future. But I think in the future, obviously, it's all going to be potential for NDI.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was inspiring and educational at the same time. I want to thank the people from Uber Flix Studio for giving us this tour. And if you are in Canada or in the Ottawa area and you need a podcasting and live streaming studio, I would definitely recommend you check them out. I'm gonna leave a link down below to their website. But other than that, if you want to build your own studio, let's say you have the money and you have the time to build your own studio, I have actually another video that's gonna show you step by step how to build your own home studio. So make sure you check it out, guys. It's gonna be linked right here, and I'll see you there. Take care.